Everybody. I wanted to make a quick tutorial that will talk just a little bit more about the strap properties. Strap stands for S for scale, T for transparency or opacity, R for rotation, A for anchor point, and P for position. These are going to be the things that are most important to you as you work your way through the class this month. So I've already got a composition open in AfterEffects. I just created a standard. I'm going to show you my comp settings here. I just created a standard HD HDTV 720. It's this one right here. So I've got a composition set up like that. I've got a 5-second length, and I'm going to click OK. So nothing's in my composition at this point. I can move my playhead back and forth on the timeline, but I haven't added anything to it yet. So I'm going to kind of take the easy way at this point, and I'm going to go up to my toolbox up here, and I'm just going to select one of the tools. I'm going to choose the rectangle tool. You can choose any of those shapes that you want to right there. Notice that when you do choose these tools, you have the ability to control the fill and the stroke. Currently, stroke is turned off. If you want to turn that on, you can just click on the word, and you can choose a solid color stroke, a gradient, whatever there. So we're going to click cancel because I don't want a stroke. If you don't like the color green for the fill, or you've got some other color, then we can choose another color here just by clicking in the color picker. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a square here. I can hold the shift key down, I can click and drag and draw a perfect square. So one thing that you want to be aware of is anytime you're using one of the additional tools up here and you want to go back to animating or working with something else, be sure to remember to change back to the selection tool. So I'm going to click back on the selection tool. I'm going to click into a blank area here in my timeline to deselect, and then I'm going to click my shape layer. And you guys are going to notice that there's something a little odd about this, and this is going to occur anytime you draw a shape. What is happening here is we can see the shape. We can see these little kind of handles on the edge of the shape. If I wanted to, I could click those handles and scale it in and out. But look how weird it's scaling. It's scaling in a strange way because whenever you create a geometric shape using one of the shape tools up here, it assumes that your anchor point for that object is in the middle of your composition. So let me just show you real quickly. We're going to kind of have to go down this road and then I'll backtrack just a little bit. But I wanted to show you underneath this object, we've got shape layer down here. I could always click it one time, hit return, and name it. So I'm going to call it pink square, so we know what that is. Contents I'm not worried about right now, but transform I am, because transform is where my strap properties are. Scale, transparency, rotation, anchor point, position. This is what we're talking about. So let me just show you what's going to happen. I'm not going to actually animate something yet. I just want to show you how important the anchor point is. So if I were to rotate this box, I'm just going to click down here and I'm going to scrub on this number. Watch how that box orbits around the anchor point. That's really not what I want it to do. I want that box to tumble as if it were going to like roll around right in the center of the screen. Pretty much anything that I do with that shape is going to be based on where that anchor point currently is. Opacity's not, you're not really going to see any difference in that one just because it doesn't work that way. But it's really important to know that for certain things, you're going to want the anchor point offset, but for most things, you're going to want the anchor point to be right dead square center of the object. So there's a tool that will let me do that. Up in the toolbox, up at the top, just to the right of the icon that looks like a camera, there's a tool that's called the Pan Behind Anchor Point tool. I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to grab that anchor point, and I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to put it right in the center of that box. Now, I'm going to switch back to my selection tool. You want to get in the habit of doing that. And watch what happens when I rotate it now. It tumbles just like I wanted it to. Now there's certainly situations where I would want it to be offset like it originally started out. But for what we're doing right here, I don't want that to occur. So I'm just going to pick this little box up. I'm going to put it right here. And we're going to get down to some of the nuts and bolts of animating. Anytime you want to animate one of these properties, you have to tell AfterEffects that you'd like to begin animating that. There's a couple ways to do it, but the easiest way is to reveal under the transform properties whatever you want to animate. And this little button over here, this is a stopwatch. If you want to animate a property, you have to click the stopwatch to say, hey, yeah, I want to animate that. So as soon as I click that stopwatch, you're going to notice that it created something for me right here. This is magic. This is called a keyframe. And this is going to allow After Effects to do pretty much anything that you need it to. You will have to have keyframes. Keyframes are the way you animate everything. This keyframe right here contains two pieces of information. One, it contains the time information, and that is that it's at the 0 point on the timeline. The other piece of information that it contains is this position location right here. So I'm going to move my playhead further down the timeline. I'm going to move down to the 2-second mark. If you're having a hard time telling if you're exactly on that mark or not, you can always look right here in this area and you can see, yep, I'm on the 2-second mark. And I'm just going to, with my selection tool, drag this box across. I'm holding the shift key down so it moves it in a perfect horizontal. You're going to notice that you now have a motion path that's going to show you where it begins, where it ends. You do have some other things in here. You have handles that will work like a Bezier to control that motion path. You can just click those handles and pull them out to create kind of a curvy motion path if you want to. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But take a look down here. I have one keyframe here and one keyframe here. This keyframe contains the information that it occurs at 2 seconds, and the position is right here. The keyframes are also going to contain this information with the handles and the Bezier. So watch what happens now. I'm going to hit my space bar. I pulled my playhead all the way back to the beginning, and you're going to see that little pink box move across. So that's kind of the basics of animation. The cool thing is I can animate as many or as few of these properties as I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and click Scale. With my playhead at the 0 mark, I'm going to move my playhead back over here to the 2-second mark, and I'm going to scale it up to 200%. Scale is unique in that you've got X and Y. As long as this little chain link is checked right here, they both will scale together. So I could click right there and I could type 300 and it's going to scale X and Y to 300. It really doesn't care. So now as I scrub back on the timeline, you can see my little pink box is scaling up pretty significantly over time. So let's keep going here. Let's animate the rotation setting. So we're going to start off here at 0. I'm going to move my playhead forward to the 2-second mark. And rotation is unique as well in that this first number right here is how many full rotations would you like it to make. The second number is how many degrees. If you know you just wanted to spin 1 or 2 times, it's easier just to click right here and type in the number you want. If you want it to rotate exactly 45 degrees, then you'll have to do that here. But let's click right here in the first number and I'm going to put in 1. So we'll do 1 full rotation and watch what magic happens now. So now it tumbles as it moves across as well. We're going to animate one more thing here, and that would be opacity. I pulled my playhead back to the 0 mark. I can click my stopwatch for opacity. I'm going to set it to 0 because I want it to be invisible right there. And maybe this time I'll just move my playhead to the 1-second mark. And I'll put that up to 100 again. And one more time. Pretty incredibly cool there. It's going to tumble and become opaque as the time goes by. It's going to become fully opaque at the 1-second mark, and it's going to complete the moves over here. So those are your strap properties. You can also animate your anchor point properties. They're a little bit more awkward to do once you actually have the object moving. If you want to move an anchor point on an object, it's really better when you first draw it. So let's go ahead and let's do that real quick. I'm going to twirl this back up so I can't see all that. I'm going to click in a blank area to deselect it, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to get an ellipse, and I'm going to change my color. I'm just going to make it like a deep ruby red. So at this point, I'm going to draw an ellipse right here. I'm going to switch back to my selection tool and click in a blank area. And now when I click on that, look at where my anchor point is. It's a little frustrating sometimes. I'm going to go get my anchor point, pan behind tool. I'm going to move it up here, right at the top. And I'm going to swing this red ball back and forth as if it were like a pendulum on a clock or a yo-yo on a string or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that layer just so that you can see which one it is. I'm going to call that red ball. And I want to animate the rotation property for that layer. There's a shortcut keyboard shortcuts for all of the strap properties. For scale, I could hit the letter S, and notice that it changed all that to scale. T for transparency, R for rotation, A for anchor point, P for position. So if I want to set a keyframe right there for rotation, and I know I want to do that, I don't even have to think about it. I can also do a keyboard shortcut called Option, and I'm setting it for rotation, so the letter is R. Option plus the letter R will reveal the rotation property and also click the stopwatch for me and set a keyframe. So now, actually I want to rotate that back. I'm going to pull that back over here, and I'm just going to move my playhead up a couple of times, and I'm going to swing it back and forth. I'm using the rotate tool on this, just like that. So I've got this sort of imaginary pendulum happening right here as if it were on a clock or something like that. So now, as I play through this, I'm going to hit my space bar. The red ball is going to swing back and forth. It's going to keep going because I kept animating it even past the pink box. But that's kind of the basics of setting keyframes for strap properties.